Hey guys, and welcome to another conversation. This is definitely a dialogue. I'm gonna try to make a video as quick as possible about the Keke Palmer situation. I know it's a very serious and a very touchy topic. As always, I am going to attempt to discuss it from different perspectives and different angles and talk about the non-cliche aspects of the situation and just DV in general. Let me give a super disclaimer. I am not well versed in DV at all. I think it's really important to give that disclaimer and say that I know people would be like, oh, you're a woman. Like, what do you mean you're not good at DV or well versed? What I'm saying is, it takes a special, you actually have to be trained or you have to have a lot of experience with DV and people in DV situations to really understand all the nuances and all the layers, or else you wouldn't be as compassionate as you should be, or you just won't be as knowledgeable as you should be, if that makes sense. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, so I think it's really important to give that disclaimer because there's so many layers and there's so many reasons why on both sides, and we'll talk about both sides. So I definitely wanted to put that disclaimer out there. Now let me try to go through my bulletin points. I have some bulletin points written down. So first of all, let me just take a small amount of time to sympathize and empathize with Keke Palmer. I could imagine how scary it is to have a man be violent with you, especially when you are in the same house. You know, I know that that's really traumatic. I know that we laugh about a lot of stuff online. We joke about a lot of things online, but that's pretty serious. So yeah, so now let's get into it. My first bulletin for women, I'm going to get to the men at some point, but let me start with women first. My first bulletin to women is take the signs seriously. What do I mean by take the signs seriously? I can use myself as an example. I do not play with men being aggressive at all. Like, I don't take it lightly at all. Like, there's nothing in me that takes that lightly. So if you have a guy that maybe says certain little things about hitting you, or he makes jokes about killing you, or like he plays and he maybe pushes you, or he plays and he like, like sometimes like they talk and they tap you really hard. All of those things are triggers for me, um because I don't really know, let me not say I don't know why, but I'm extremely sensitive to men being aggressive. And you know what, I will give one of my stories as kind of as an example, and just to kind of like humanize myself, because there's so many different people, don't understand how many different ways DV comes into play, and people think that all things start the same way, all things end the same way. And I think it's really important for women and even men to understand that these things happen in so many different ways. I've had an experience in the past where there was a guy that I was dating, and he didn't hit me, but he got really upset about something, and like he was just like yelling in my face and like, like kind of like, jolting, just kind of like projecting that bodily aggression towards me. And I call the cops. Now listen, y'all, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm not a scary person. I am not like, I don't, and this could be a dangerous thing about me, but I don't really fear humans like that. I do have fears, but like the person that you would look at. Now let me just put my disclaimer. I don't like ninja-ish. All right, I'm trying to, not have the algorithm mess with me by saying Niggashit. But y'all, I'm so grown now. Like when I see people like aggression, when I see, all of that city girl stuff, when I see women thinking that they still getting it out the mud with a dude and we in the trenches together, I don't care if you're married or not. To me, that stuff is so unattractive to me. It's ninja-ish, okay? And there's no way, there's no part of my life where I am impressed or even where I'm not even bothered by that stuff. I'm very triggered by that stuff. So anyway, he was just asserting aggression or, whatever the case is. And yeah, I called the cops. And let me tell y'all something, because I knew that this would never happen to me again with this person or anybody else. Well, you can't say with anybody else because until it happens, you have to remove yourself. So a lot of women cannot control the first time something happens, but you absolutely have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 infinitive, an infinitive percentage of not letting it occur or progress with the same person. So long story short, let me just say I'm not a highly sentimental person or a highly emotional person. I'm a head person. Everything for me is logic and thought and so what bothered me, let me not say what bothered me more than anything, but what stood out to me more than anything till this day, guys, was when the cops came and, and I had to make the police report and, and I told them that this will never happen again. Like, I am completely done with this. As a matter of fact, I was already done with the person. We had already broken up. Right? We had already broken up. So let me make that clear. So the same thing with Keke Palmer. Sometimes people think that you're still in a relationship or whatever the case is. This was unfortunately a situation where me and the person had to be in the same, we had to be in the same vicinity for something. So it was just one of those things, right? And I told the cops, like, listen, I am not with this person. I haven't been with this person for a while. And this person would never even have access to me in this way to be able to act this way ever again. What embarrassed me the most, guys, is I could see in the officer's face that they felt sorry for me. I could see that they didn't really believe me. Another part of it that was embarrassing is that I was like, this is ghetto. Like sometimes as a woman, you could find yourself in a situation, and not to remove any responsibility from myself for even having this person enter my life. But sometimes we find ourselves in situations that's so low vibration or so ghetto, right? And you're like, me? like look at Keke Palmer. Like listen, I'm not the politically correct person, so please don't come in my comments talking the nonsense, because I know some ghetto, ratchet, aggressive ass women that be in men's face, that be with the ish. They be wanting all the smoke. They be wanting to fight. They about that life. We'll get to that later. So what I'm going to say is, for it to happen to a woman like Keke Palmer, who's I don't know what she's like in her personal life, but I know that she's been a class act as far as protecting her brand, protecting her image. So, not to say that she doesn't have a smart mouth or anything, but I'm a pretty good judge of character, maybe about 90% of the time. So I don't see Keke as being like a like an aggressive in your face type of woman. Yes, she can be sassy, she's an actress, that's what she's done her whole life. So she's sassy, she's around a lot of, gay men. She has a stylist and a hairstylist, and she's going to pick up some of that stuff, but she doesn't strike me as like a aggressive woman that's about that life, like I'm about to be fighting a dude or something like that, right? So what I mean is, like, there's certain women and certain people, when it happened to us, you're in shock that it's happening to you, because it's so like, yo, this is ghetto, like there's no other way, right? So what I was trying to say is, more than anything, I was embarrassed. And let me do a disclaimer: I'm not saying that women that stay or women that continue to be in DV relationships are weak, or that they're stupid or anything like that. That's a disclaimer. I'm just speaking freely and expressing my thoughts and how I process things. I felt embarrassed that the officers thought that I was that weak. I felt embarrassed that the officers thought that I was just thought that maybe we was just a ghetto couple and I engage in this type of behavior. Like, that probably bothered me more than the actual whole situation happening, right? So the point I was making is, do not ignore the signs. That man had one time, I'm gonna say it again, one time. This was a man that didn't even he never raised his voice to me. He never really raised his voice to me. We had disagreements, but he's never really raised his voice. Now, however, he did tell me a story about one of his ex-girlfriends having to call the cops on him. Now, of course, the man is going to say, oh, we got in an argument and she just called the cops, and, it was unnecessary. She just wanted to get me in trouble. So he told me that story before. And I try to be careful with saying that things are red flags, because we're all walking red flags, right? It's hard to decipher sometimes the difference between a red flag, a pink flag, a blinking, glaring red flag. Sometimes, the lines get blurred, right? So I do remember when he told me that story, and I did question him about it, because I'm like, wait, y'all got in an argument, she called the cops, and she told you to leave her house. Not saying that women don't do stuff like that, but why would she just not tell you to leave? And why didn't you leave? Like, she had to tell you that she was calling the cops. You had to know that she was calling the cops. Why didn't you leave, right? So, like I said, it wasn't adding up to me, but I ignored that sign because I was trying to give a man the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, maybe some women do that. And I'm pretty sure some women probably do that. But that was a sign. He already told me that it happened before. And another thing that he said was, when they got into it, that she said that he tried to like take her phone. The same thing with Keke Palmer. The same thing happened to me. I was trying to call the cops and he tried to break my phone. Luckily, there were other people around. So this stuff happens. Ladies, do not ignore the signs. Even if he's the type that now there's a difference between passion, and there's a difference between, and when I say passion, I mean, like, maybe there's a debate, or maybe you guys are having a disagreement and someone is, just a bit passionate. But there's a difference, and you know the difference between aggression and somebody just being upset and somebody just expressing themselves. Men that are violent do typically exert aggression, and you see it before. So if you ever, like, if a guy ever gets upset and you feel uneasy, don't ignore it, because like I said, we need to know the difference between someone just being upset and somebody being aggressive. And that could be just with them talking verbally. Yeah, so that's a story. The next point that I'm going to go into is women loving bad boys. This has to be discussed. And I know people are like, women, there's nothing that a woman could do to deserve this. Um, how is a woman supposed to know? A lot of women love bad boys. Let's be honest. Why do you think that he is going to be able to just turn off how he is in the streets when he gets in the house? It doesn't work that way. Now, it only works that way for a limited amount of time, right? Because in the beginning, they know how to um or they try their best, because I think sometimes even they think they can change on their own, right? So they get into something new and they probably think they're not going to do that again. But you want a bad boy, you're going to get a bad boy 360. He's not just going to be bad to other people. And another sub point that I want to make to this point is, a lot of women, and this is a statistic for me that I've noticed. When I say for me, I mean that I've noticed in my life. Dating a man that has a criminal record for a violent crime. Now, yes, scammers, drug dealers, they can all be in there. Most likely, if they live a certain type of lifestyle, violence comes with it, right? But specifically, let me say this very clearly. I've never met a man, and I was raised in the hood, okay? I've been around some people and some things, okay? I've never seen a man that was arrested for a violent crime that was not violent towards women in their relationships. I've never seen it. And now that I am, and I don't want to say that I'm a fully grown adult, because the more I learn, guys, the more I realize I'm an infant in this life. I don't know anything. But now when someone is like, oh, my boyfriend, he got locked up for this or he got locked up for that. And then when you put all the pieces together, you're like, no, he's definitely violent towards you as well. I've never seen, and I'm just saying in my experience. So women, if you want a guy that has a violent history, he's a violent person, right? He just is. And I've seen it countless times. Yeah. So, and a good point to that is the turkey leg hut situation, right? And this was couple goals, on Instagram, couple goals on YouTube. People saw the guy buying her lavish gifts and doing certain things, but when you pay attention to his demeanor, and now in hindsight, right? Now that she posted her IG post, and she expressed all of the things that she's been going through over the years. Now, I've never known about this couple until this happened. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So I'm not even gonna sit up here and lie and act like I know their history and I knew who they were. But now that I found out who they are, because it's it's viral, the story, when I look at the demeanor of the husband, and now to know his criminal record, it makes all the sense. And I think a lot of times women, we want to be blinded, especially when we have people that we know, friends, family members, colleagues at work, and then you see this man come around and something just feels like off about his now granted, there's a lot of guys that they come and they smile and or they'll be the life of the party, but they are monsters at home. So let's not act like the ones that put on a good front in public are the best. But I'm saying there is a almost definitive correlation with these super street, super hyper masculine men that have criminal records for violent crimes. It cannot be ignored. It goes hand in hand. Okay, the other point, let me see, what bulletin do I want to go into next? Maybe I will discuss that there are different forms um, of DV, right? There's different forms of DV. It's not all the same, and it usually doesn't start uh, the same for everyone. Like, it's for some people, it happens in different ways. But typically it always leads to an act of violence, even if it's not often, because a lot of women, unfortunately, and I could see, I could totally empathize why a woman would feel like, oh, okay, well, he hit me a couple of months ago, or he hit me last year. It's not going to happen again because it's been a while. But it's literally a matter of time, right? A matter of when you make him mad enough again. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You know what I mean? So talking about the forms of abuse that are out there, the first one that people do acknowledge is the emotional and verbal, of course. So from what I've been told is they start to break you down emotionally and verbally. So usually things like belittling your intellect, like when you say certain things, or when you are aware of certain things, especially when you accuse them of something. It's something that they are doing, and they try to they gaslight you, right? And I don't like a lot of these terms. I don't like the terms narcissist and gaslight, because y'all don't use this so much. They're valid terms, but y'all don't overuse the things. Like, I need a new word. Like, I need gas dark or something, because y'all just be overusing these terms. Like, oh Lord. But yes, they gaslight you, and they belittle you, and they make you feel like you're dumb, and they make you feel like you're stupid. Oftentimes you have a higher level of education than they do. So that's the funny part of it. But like certain things that you say, and they're like, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about. Or, like when other people are around, and they purposely try to say things to make you seem dumb, or they say things to kind of shut you up in front of crowds of people. That's kind of like really abrasive and like swift. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because I've never really been in a DV situation, but I've seen it happen to other people, and I'm like, why is he like shutting her down like that in front of people? Like, he's trying to embarrass you in front of people, and it's on purpose. He doesn't want you to shine. He doesn't want you to basically, he's doing it on purpose, right? Especially if it's a day where you look good and you smell good, and people are like complimenting you, or people are looking at you. That's usually when it happens. The verbal abuse, and saying things like, I remember I had a really close friend. She's still a good friend of mine, and she was in an abusive marriage for a long time. And I know I was a lot younger then. I was in my early 20s when I met her. So I wouldn't have the clues or the signs if it slapped me in the face, right? But in hindsight, when I realize some of the things that she used to say, it all makes sense now. Like, she was really slim at one point, and then she started to gain weight, and she was gaining weight in all the right places, y'all. And I remember one time he was like, oh, you think, he said something like, oh, you think because you got a little booty now, or something like that. And then there was another time I recall her telling me, like, she was joking, and she was like, oh, he be saying stuff, about her body, like, oh, I think I'm cute now, or I think I'm sexy now, and different things like that. And in hindsight, it's like, oh, wow, like, he was literally like, she looked good, she looked amazing, but he was trying to break her down and take away her confidence. So that's a part of it that I wasn't even cognitive of at the time. And now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, like, so many signs, I'll get back to that situation, because in hindsight, y'all, in hindsight, when I hear certain things, I'm like, I could remember things that move something inside of me when I was around them, or things that he would do, or ways that he would behave. And now I'm like, oh my God, right? Okay, so we talked about the emotional Um, I'm assuming the verbal is, probably the same. It goes hand in hand. Uh, this is one that I recently found out about that I wasn't really privy to: financial abuse. I would have never thought about that because I'm just thinking financial abuse can only happen back in the days when, in the 50s, when women couldn't work like that. So, it was only the man that was making the money, and the woman was home with a bunch of kids, and she had to literally just depend on his check because she couldn't work. But I didn't think about it in the modern context. And it's real. Like, it is, and it happens in so many different ways. So, like I said, it's not only how we thought of it in the past, it y'all just research financial abuse. Like, I ran across a thread on YouTube of women talking about like financial abuse in relationships, and it blew my mind. Like, you could be the breadwinner. I didn't even know this. You could be the breadwinner in the relationship and still be in a financial abusive situation. Y'all got to Google that because that one was like, whoa, for me. I learned something new. Another thing that that we, maybe some of us are aware and maybe some of us are not, but definitely control and isolation. Control, isolation, and also men that love to date women way younger than them. Most of the stories that I'm telling you about, it's been men with way younger women. When I lived in New York, I lived in a building, and there was actually a lot of domestic violence in that building, a lot. But it was one couple that stood out to me, and kind of just like, it was just something in my spirit that never left me. It was a really quiet girl. She was pretty quiet. She, this guy, he got her. A lot of times these guys, especially the street guys, right? Like, they are kind of like aggressive or very assertive. So if you're kind of like meek and mild, like, this assertive guy comes toward you. And this is something that the manosphere needs to understand. All women are not thoughts. All women are not hoes. All women are not 304s. All women are not from the street. There's a lot of women that get caught up in this stuff because they did not have exposure. So they don't know how to deal with this stuff when they come across it. Like, imagine you meet a guy that's like super charismatic and just very assertive, and you don't really have the opportunity to not take up to not date him because he's just so assertive. He's like, all right, so I'm gonna see you tomorrow, right? All right, I'm gonna pick you up at 4. And he's telling you, and he's telling you what's gonna happen. And because you're more quiet and meek, like, you can't even really give pushback because it's not really in your energy to give pushback. Like, you're just not that type of person naturally. So it was this fairly quiet girl, and she was dating this guy from my building. He, at the time, he had to be maybe in his mid 20s, and the girl was like, yeah, he was like in his mid 20s, and the girl might have been like 18, 19. Sought her out nice and young, like they do. And I remember one day I heard that he, like, was really putting hands on her. And I heard about it because he was doing it outside around the corner. So, I live in the building, so word gets around. And it was one time I was coming from work, and, I heard a guy, like, woo, 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 just being upset and talking loud or whatever. So in order to like walk up my steps, I have to like turn the corner, and they were around that corner. So I'm seeing the girl, she's just standing like this at the wall. You could see the fear in this girl's face. You could just see the fear, y'all. Like, that shit with my spirit, y'all. Like, I could see it. I could see it like it was yesterday. And like he was just like asserting so much aggression over her, like just with his body, with his body language. And as I passed, and he stopped, said hi to me, he backed up a little bit basically, and you could tell like he was just waiting for me to like go so he could get back to business. And y'all, everything in me wanted to just like say something to her, like, oh my God, y'all, I just wanted to say something to that girl, like, I don't even know what I wanted to say, but just something like, you don't have to, like, you can, I don't even know, y'all. But anyway, fast forward to, oh, sorry. Yeah, that was like, so the control, the isolation, and them getting you when you're young, it's a thing. So especially if you have daughters, be very mindful when a guy that's way older than them. I'm not talking about like a couple of years, like a 4-year gap, maybe even 5. But when it's like a 10-year gap, like there's something off why a man doesn't want to be with an adult woman. Like, what do you even have in common? Like, what do you even have in common? Like, if I date a guy that's 10 years younger than me, uh, well, I mean, if I do now, once you get to a certain age, it makes a difference. But, when the ages are lower, it's just really odd because it's like, why? You got to really ask yourself why. So it goes into the next part, control, right? Most abusive guys are going to be controlling. That's just how it's going to be. They're going to be controlling, and a lot of women look at it as and it's unfortunate because if women didn't have active fathers, because women, there's a lot of women that have fathers around, but if the man is not active, she looks at that control as, oh, he loves me so much that he wants to control me. The jealousy is attractive to her because she feels like she didn't have anybody for her. She didn't have anybody that she felt like was jealous for her growing up. Maybe her mom had, like most of us, we came up in a family where it was multiple children. So, the attention and the love and all of these things is spread so thin. When you finally meet someone that wants to control you, you're like, wow, somebody actually cares about me. So be mindful of that. Another thing is isolation. So I'll go back to my friend that I was telling you about. Now, mind you, my friend that I'm telling you about, she's about 10 years older than me. So like I said, at the time, I was out of folks' business, especially out of grown folks' business. Especially out of grown folks' business, because I was like, oh, they grown, and I had this illusion growing up that married people, loved each other, and they were in, they're married, so they have to be in a good, happy, healthy union. That was my illusion growing up because I wasn't raised around that. So I just assumed that people that were married actually had a family unit, and, things were always healthier, not perfect, but I just assumed that marriages were healthy. So anyway, the isolation thing, I remember he did not like people coming to the house at all. And I remember when she invited me to her house, and she was like, she did tell me on several occasions, she was like, we don't let people come here, like we don't, my husband doesn't really like people, coming to the house and knowing where we live and this and this and that. And at the time, I just didn't think anything of it. Like, okay, like, I don't know, I couldn't even formulate a thought about it because why would I, And in hindsight, I'm thinking maybe they had me around because I was so much younger, so I'm not going to be able to really notice anything. I'm not going to be able to, and not saying that they had me coming around, like I needed to get some stuff from her house or whatever. So that's why I was over there. And I do remember, like, even when she would go out, like she was a social person, she was lively, she was just lively and social and always smiling like you would never No, like, and she had a strong personality too. So you just thinking like, hey, that girl ain't let nobody put no hands on her, like not her. And in hindsight, I realized it's the isolation, like always having a guy like not wanting people around, like, and they always have a reason why they don't want people around. It's really, interesting. Now, I know I have introvert tendencies and I don't trust humans for the most part. So, for me, I know that there's a way to do it, is what I'm saying. But like when it comes in the form of control, like he's always like the country, and a lot of times women give this leadership to these men without them asking, right? So we'll get into accountability and responsibility for women as well. Because sometimes women start them off with like, I'm going to ask him everything, I'm going to run everything by him. And yes, that is your partner. So if I'm going somewhere, obviously my husband has to know where I'm going. Like, that's a no-brainer. If he's going somewhere, I have to know where he's going. But it's usually not in a simple caring way. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. Now you'll know it when you see it, but we didn't understand it before. So there's emotional abuse, verbal, financial, control, isolation, and dating people when they're younger. Keep those in mind. Look out for those things. Another thing is a man, and this is going to be a tricky way. I don't really know how to articulate this without it sounding weird, but a man that like wants to take care of you financially, and he wants you to be dependent on him financially. Initially, it feels good, it sounds cute, it's like, oh, this is a man, like he wants to take care of me. And I'll give you guys a good story. It was a guy I was dating a little bit before I met my husband, and he had all the things. He had all the things, right? And had a really good job. And he had this thing where he would be like, yeah, we get together, you don't have to work. And he really wanted me to have a kid. That's that's a story for a whole other day. These men trying to put babies in you to sit your butt down and control you. Okay, that's a whole other story. So he just really wanted me to have his child, and he just kept being like, baby, you're not gonna have to work when you with me. And it was like one or two things that he said, and I was like, I get it. You want to have all the control. You want me to be dependent on you. You want me to be dependent on you. So now you're telling me I'm not gonna have to work. I'm not gonna have to this. I'm not gonna have to that. And I already saw, like, I don't like the word narcissism, y'all. So I don't know what word I would give this man, but I am telling you, everything in my spirit was like, this man is doing all of this so he can control me. Now, let me tell you how life works sometimes, and how I was really grateful to get confirmation, because he actually said it one day. He was like, I was going out with my friends, and mind you, I don't go out a lot. I don't go out a lot, but I happen to be going out with my friends. And he said out his mouth, I'm gonna get you pregnant one day and you're gonna have to stay in the house. Like, he said it. So this is not, guys, this is not speculation when women say that there are men out there that will purposely try to get you pregnant and have you. So codependency would have been the other thing I should have added in there. And the guy trying to put a whole bunch of babies in you. Be careful about that too, because it's very rare that you hear a man say, I just really want to be a father. Like, I just really want to be a father. I really want to take the kids to the park. Like, they envision them lives as being fathers. Why do they want to get you pregnant so bad? Why do they want to continue to get you pregnant, especially after something major happened and they decide that they want to get you pregnant again? You got to be mindful of that. Like, if you catch them cheating and then you find yourself pregnant, if they lose their job and then you find yourself pregnant, they see you starting to have a glow up season, you're like, oh, I'm going to get myself together, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you get pregnant again, and then it keeps happening. Definitely forms of control. in forms of isolation and dependence, right? Because they need you to be dependent. Um, the next bulletin I'm going to go into is that leaving, the discomfort and the inconvenience of leaving is way less heavy than the discomfort and the hazard of staying. I get it. I understand. Let me say it. I get it and I understand, okay? Like I said, when I had that situation happen with that ex, and I knew that we had to be in the same vicinity, in the same proximity, I was like, I'm moving out of the state. And I did. That wasn't the only reason. That definitely wasn't the only reason, but that was the nail in the coffin. And I was like, I'm ready to go. Right? I gave myself a 1 year plan. 1 year plan, because you gotta, sometimes you gotta plan. And that was it. I was out like a thief in the night. Literally, nobody knew that we were moving. Nobody knew that we were moving. Like, our neighbors, like, nobody knew. We only told maybe like a couple of neighbors that we really cared about. And when I say we told them, I mean we told them maybe like the day before. We was like, we leaving tomorrow, you can't tell anybody, we just want to, so the discomfort of leaving, I know it's an inconvenience. I know, I get it. It is an inconvenience. Okay, but the discomfort and the hazard of staying, like the turkey leg hut wife, her name is Nakia Holmes, I believe. Read her IG post when she said, me and my children are in a living hell every day when we come home. The discomfort of having to stay in maybe a shelter, or the discomfort of maybe having to stay at some family's house, to get your life together, or the discomfort of maybe even having to leave the city that you're in. I get it. It is an inconvenience and it is a discomfort, but it is necessary. And there is a reward on the other end. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but there's no light if you stay in the tunnel. Like, there's literally, the light is not going to come in the tunnel. He's not the light. That relationship is not the light. There's nothing that's going to change for the better. Because another thing I want to tell you guys, and men, I'm not picking on you. You know this. I usually talk about female accountability, but let me say this. Typically, men and women age differently. Now, hear me out. Women are like, okay, the kids are getting bigger. I have a little bit more independence now. I have a little bit more time on my hand. I have a little bit more resources. Women want to travel. Women want to start living. Women want to start going to the gym. They want to start going to spas. They may want to go to a wine tasting with their friends. Like, as women get older, we want to experience and expand and, and have fun and do all of the things that maybe we couldn't do because of school, because of children, just because of responsibilities, financial things. But men, as men age, men tend to get more miserable, more violent, more withdrawn.
So when it comes time to, when the kids are gone and when it comes time for retirement, we really hadn't thought it out. Our plans are simple. I'm going to go fishing more, play golf more, or ride my bike more. Women, on the other hand, have active social lives. Men tend not to, especially when you get in your 40s and well, I'm gonna say in your 50s. You're not playing touch football, basketball's out. So your social is limited to whenever you see them. But women, on the other hand, still go shopping, hang out with their friends, sometimes go to casinos, but they go out together for meals. Men, eh. What am I going to say? I'm not doing anything. I don't have anything to talk about. I'm not working. My kids are all grown.
More depressed. The depression doesn't get better as they get older, it gets worse, right? Because for so many reasons, right? Their man part doesn't work the way it used to. Their body is not working the way it used to. It's just so many elements, especially if their money is not growing. Um there's so many different things. So the man is going to get more, basically the environment is going to get more toxic. So listening and reading Nakia Holmes, her IG, it made sense when she said, me and my children have been in a living hell, right? She should have left a long time ago. Like, I can't remember where I heard this saying, but I've heard this saying sometime this year, and it's so potent. It's so potent. They said, the wrong way is a long way to go. The wrong way is a long way to go. Because just think about it. If you're driving and you're going in the wrong direction, the further you go in that direction, the longer it's going to take for you to get back and to figure out a path. You're lost. So you don't even know how to get on the path, right? You drive 1 mile in the wrong way, you have 1 mile to drive back, maybe 1.5, maybe 2 miles, because you might make some wrong turns. So just think about that, right? There's no day like today. There's no time like now. It doesn't get better. How will it get better? What do you think is going to make it get better? There's nothing you can do to make it better. There's nothing he can do to make himself better, because most likely, once again, women may get older and be open to counseling, be open to therapy, be open to doing shadow work, open to talking to other people. Men, for the most part, forget about it. Now I need to do a video on the Nia Long and Jeezy, because there was so many key points in there. I know it's like a big divide about the video. The women are like, with Jeezy, he's trying to use black women now. That's a whole thing. And then they're saying Nia Long is coddling, black men, whatever. I'll let y'all have your opinions on that. I'm going to come to you guys with a conversation, and I'm going to break down so many different key points. One, because I'm a Libra as well. So we got to talk, because I understand some things about Jeezy. That's all I'm saying, is I understand some things about him. I understand some things. I do. I empathize with some of the things. And I know some people are not into astrology and all that. That's cool. You do what you want to do. But when I heard that man talk about certain things, I was like, "Ooh, bruh, yeah." But Nia Long said something when she said that her 8-year-old, when one of her main things that made her say enough was enough was watching her 8-year-old watch her try to keep it all together. And what we don't realize, and I don't know why we don't realize this, but a lot of people think that they are staying for the children. You are doing way more. And I know a lot of men don't want to hear this, because unfortunately, a lot of men care more about, and even women too. A lot of women, let me be honest, a lot of women, they don't want to leave because ego. They don't want people to think that they have a failed marriage. They don't want people to know all of the stuff that's been going on. So they'll stay a lot longer for ego, right? They don't want the outside world to know that their marriage is not good. They don't want people to know that their husband, is a monster, or really needs help. Let me not vilify him. Really has a lot of issues that there's nothing she can do about. So people stay. Um, but really think about it. Having a healthy one parent household where a child never sees violence, never hears constant conflict. And let me tell you something, kids hear more than you think. So when you and your partner are arguing, trust me, those kids know all your business. When you get upset at your husband and the husband gets upset at the wife and the kids are there and they are talking, to their best friend about their husband, or they're talking to their aunt, or they're talking to their best friend, the children are hearing everything. They know about the affairs, they know about the financial issues, they know about the abuse. They know about the abuse. And children, you can't even imagine how they feel being in that predicament. I remember one of my cousins, she was telling me, I went to a family event recently, and after everybody left and some of the women was there, and we was just having just conversations, and my one of my cousins was telling a story about one of my male cousins and his girlfriend getting into a fight in front of the kids. And she said that the son, like, she said it the son, the reaction was kind of like the son was stuck, like the son didn't know how to feel. He didn't know if to be sad or scared or used to it. But she said, like, the boy just wouldn't move, like he didn't know how to feel. It wasn't fear, it wasn't, do you know what you're doing to your children? Not even just abuse, but like the toxicity, especially if it's abuse. That's a whole other level, because now most likely, and a lot of people want to be delusional about this. If your son witnesses, even if they don't see it, you think your boyfriend or your fiance or your husband or your baby daddy is in the other room and y'all fighting, and he hitting you and you hitting him, and you think the kids don't know exactly what happened. You walk out the room, y'all trying to act kind of normal, like they didn't know that you was in there getting your behind whooped. They know. So your son is most likely going to inflict violence on women that he's in a relationship with, because we don't understand, uh not only are they witnessing it, but there's also epigenetics, right? So I think it was Kendrick Lamar that was talking about, I think it's survival remorse or something like that. Like, basically you're guilty when you're not doing as bad as the people before you. And I've had a cousin like that was doing good, went away to college, had a scholarship, and just completely started acting up, throwing his life away, because he kept coming back and visiting the hood. And it was what Kendrick Lamar said it was. And I think it was like survival guilt or survival's remorse or something like that. And it's basically when you're guilty because you're doing better than most of the people that you saw growing up. So your children will sabotage themselves because they feel like, why me? Why should I be good? Why am I trying to be good? Like, this is lame. Or like they crave toxicity because they feel like that's love. So your son, whether you believe it or not, you think you're raising a good little boy until you find out that he done slapped the damn out of somebody, out of one of his girlfriends, and then you'll be shocked. But why? His dad taught him it was okay, or the guy that you was dating taught him it was okay. And then you also taught him that it was okay because mommy never left, right? So can't be that bad. Like, this is what men do when they get upset. And I always say, no matter what you tell children, it's what you do. You can tell children anything, but it's what you do that really sticks with them the most. And then your daughters. What are you teaching your daughters to? What are we teaching our daughters to be, to believe in, to think of themselves, to think of love, to think of toxicity, to think of tolerance? Why would they Why would they leave, or why would they think that it's okay for them to separate from a toxic situation? They're going to feel like maybe they're quitters, or they're not as strong as their mom, or they're not really a good woman, all the different things. So you're teaching your daughter that, like, now she's going to be attracted to aggression. And then you're going to sit there like BB Bop boop in the head, like, oh, I don't know why she's dating these type of guys. Ma'am, she saw aggressive men around her. No matter what people try to do, and here's the funny thing, right? A lot of us try to date differently from our parents. We try to do better. But we date differently in a toxic way, right? So we're like, at least it's not that, but we'll take something else really toxic because at least it's not that, right? It's such a vicious cycle. So when Nia Long said, and it was something about the way she crafted the sentence. If she would have just said, yeah, I didn't want my kids seeing this, I didn't want my boys seeing this, I don't think it would have hit me as much as her saying she saw her son watching her try to keep this all together. Now, something that Nia didn't say, but I can read between the lines, is that she also had a conversation with that boy. And it was something that her son said that let her know that he doesn't even want to be a part of the toxicity anymore. He wants mommy and daddy to cordially go their separate ways because it's too much for him. I'm pretty sure, like, trust me, moms, listen, as parents, we don't want to know. We don't really want to know what our kids think when it's not good. So for her to come to that conclusion, her son had to say something to her. So if you think you're staying with the kids, I can guarantee you your kids are probably disgusted by you. Listen, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it for y'all. Your kids probably hate and despise being in that house. They probably dread going back home. Even if the guy is not abusive directly to the children, I'm pretty sure there's a disdain that your children are not able to uh, express to you. But when you get older, the things that they'll tell you that they know will literally bring you to your knees in your room by yourself crying like, oh my God, I didn't know that you actually knew that was going on. So now you're doing psychological damage to your children. And like I said, I'm not saying that it's easy to leave, especially when there's children. I'm just simply saying it's really worth thinking about. And I'm supposed to be grocery shopping, so this is the last point that I'm going to make. This is the last point I'm going to make. And men, you have to be responsible and accountable for having discipline when it comes to DV. I told you guys I was going to get around to you. I have a family member that would get into it with his girlfriend often. And I was actually friends with the lady. For some reason, I tend to be around people that are older than me when I was younger. So it was older. They were slightly older, maybe like 5 years older. And, we were all cool. And I ended up having to not be friends with the girl because I couldn't respect her. I couldn't respect her because I'm like, why won't you just leave? And I loved her. Like, we were cool, man. We used to hang out. We used to have fun. She was a sweet girl. She was a really sweet girl. She would do anything for anybody. And she was really lively, really vibrant personality. And I couldn't, and I also loved her too much. Like, when I love people, like, it's really difficult for me to be close to people because when I love you, I want to see you be healthy. I want to see you thriving. I really want to see you happy. And I know some people will be like, maybe you don't know how to love. Maybe not. But I am sensitive to people that I love not being healthy, not thriving, not being happy. So I would probably most likely not want to be around you to a certain capacity because I know that you are struggling. I know that you are sad. And I also know that you're not doing the things that you need to do to not have that happen because life is really about a series of choices. That's all our lives are. Series of choices. Every day you get up, you got to choose something. Every single day you wake up, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I choosing today? Don't just wake up and brush your teeth. Try this exercise. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, say, what am I choosing? Think about all the things you're choosing, because that means tomorrow you have a choice to say, I'm not choosing this anymore. So anyway, so I ended up not talking to her, but I also had a conversation. Well, you can't break up with your family, but I had a conversation with this family member, and I really had to be like, bro, like, it's your responsibility. If you know you are with a woman that can get you to that point, and not saying, let me be careful with what I'm saying. Well, let me not say careful. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that she is making him do anything. If a man hits a woman, that's on him. That is a choice. However, what I was saying to him is, if you are with a woman that you feel like provokes you or makes you feel provoked, is a better way to articulate it. If you're with a woman that makes you feel provoked to be hyper aggressive, my guy, it's your responsibility to step away from that person. That's your choice as a man. You got to wake up every day, look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm dating a woman that really, gets under my skin and I don't know how to control my reaction. I need to stop messing with her. And I'll give you guys a good example. It was a guy I was dating when I was a lot younger. And he said something to me that I would never, that I took very seriously. He said, if you ever hit me in my face, I cannot control how I react. And I believed him. He was a calm guy, really chill guy, super chill guy, super chill guy. We hardly argued in the relationship, just a chill guy. And I remember him saying that and I believed him. And I will say, I've never hit a man in my life, but I got so upset with him. And this was the only time I've ever done anything like this. I'm not even about to lie and sit up here and cap for y'all. I don't even care. We've all been young. We've all had stuff happen, and we've all done things. And women need to be honest about this. Something happened, and I got so upset that I tried to break his phone. I just threw it. I didn't try to hit him. I didn't throw it at him. I just wanted his phone to be broken. And I had bought him some little trinkets that was on his dresser, and I picked up all the trinkets and I was trying to break everything that I bought. Well, just the trinkets, right? And I will give him, till this day, I have to respect this about this man. He literally just pinned me down on the bed and he kept saying, are you calm now? Will you stop? Are you calm now? Will you stop? I'm going to let you go, but you better stop. I'm going to let you go. I don't want to hurt you, but you better stop. And he held me in that position until I calmed down. He could feel my rage and he was just like, until you calm down. Now, guys, he could have really hurt me. He could have really hurt me, even though I didn't hit him. But basically, let's be real. I'm throwing things. I'm trying to break things. He knows I'm not trying to throw it at him, but still, just that type of energy, he could have matched my energy and took it up another notch and just hit me. But that's what a man does. He had enough he had enough restraint. He was a true gentleman. He knew his physical power. This was a man that played soccer often. Often. He wasn't y'all, one kick, like one anything. And I'm a petite woman. So I really respect that about him. And that's when we knew we really had to separate. Like that was, it's at that level now. It's toxic. Let's not try to sugarcoat it, but it is toxic now. And I knew I had to step away because I never felt that strongly about any man. And when I say felt that strongly about any man, and I'm going to say till this date, I mean like felt that level of rage. That's what I meant. When I say strong, I don't mean love. I mean like felt that level of um rage while being in love, that I would do something like that. Like I don't play with aggression at all, not even for me. Like me and my husband don't match energy ever. Like if I'm a little bit up, you should be down. If I'm down, if you're a little bit up, I should be down. Never try to match energy ever. Like that is a recipe for disaster, right? And for the most part, um I've never been in any most of my relationships, all of my relationships, I've never really had arguments until exiting. So that meant that like that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. If we arguing and we going through it like that, I'm on my way out the door. We not even about to play like that. We not about to play like that, because if we're at a level where we cannot communicate, if we're at a level where we're that upset, it's a no-go. So the last point that I was trying to make is that men, you have a choice. It is ultimately your choice. Even if the woman is acting up and acting out, it is your choice. And I have another scenario that I'll give, and I promise y'all, I'm not a violent person, but everybody has like a time or two in their lives where like especially if you have siblings. So this happened with me and one of my brothers, right? Like we got into an argument, and we was arguing, and he was in my face, I was in his face, and I guess he just got so upset because he's my older brother. And you know how that sibling thing goes, like somebody younger than you is talking to you crazy, like sometimes you just lose it. And like he just grabbed me, so I started going crazy, and he grabbed me aggressively, let's be clear. And I started to go crazy because I'm like, you're touching me, like, and then and once again he just pinned me down. And it's funny, I still have a rug burn till this day. So that's kind of, it's not funny, it's funny, but I'm not laughing, like Umar Johnson says. But siblings, like if you, I ain't gonna act like that's healthy, but if you have siblings, most likely you have been in a physical altercation, okay? And he just pinned me down, same thing, pinned me down, like, all right, when you calm down, I'm gonna let you go. When you calm down, I'm gonna let you go. And not to put my people business out there, but my brother, he done put his hands on some people, okay? He done put more than hands on people, okay? Yeah, so once again, it goes back to restraint, and that's also how I knew that my brother loved and cared about me enough, because he could have hit me, especially being his younger sibling. I don't care if it's sister to sister, if it's your younger sister acting out, if it's your younger brother acting out, whoever's the older sibling, you feel that rage where you want to beat that person's behind, because you cannot believe that somebody that's supposed to be under you is like cutting up, right? So yeah, and the reason why I'm saying these things is because we have to start being more honest and accountable We have to start being more honest and accountable. Um, yeah, I will say that. I won't get into anything else because what I was going to say will trigger some people. No, I'm going to say it anyway. There are women that will get their asses beat because there are women out there that are volatile. Is it Ari Fletcher? And wasn't it the chick that got dropped from Fenty Beauty because they made remarks about like wanting a guy to like pull out a gun on them because that means that he loves me, or I want a guy to love me that much that he pulls a gun out on me. Like, are y'all like, there's women out there like this. There's women out there that are attracted to this. There are women out there that will provoke you because they want to get some type of reaction out of you because they think that that is love. That is what they think is love. They think you don't care if you're not upset about where they're going and what they're wearing and what they're doing. That's a psychology conversation for a whole other day. But we got to be real. And I said I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway because we're having this real conversation. My issue with the Meg Thee Stallion situation has always been two things. One, women completely disregarding what she did to her friend. And it's like, okay, women, so we're just not going to be accountable for anything. We're not going to talk about, but more importantly, Megan has a history. She is known for getting drunk and being volatile. Now, here's the thing. You have all of these women that's like, oh, it doesn't matter what a woman does, or I don't believe that. Listen, y'all, where I was raised, where I was raised, see, I had a classy mama. My mom is quiet, right? My mom is pretty quiet. My mom was homely, she wasn't in the streets or anything like that. Even though we was raised, in a certain type of neighborhood, my mom was always a class act. So I didn't see that from my mom, like at all. Like my mom never hit me. Like my mom never hit me. So I didn't see that in my house. But baby, those women in my neighborhood, what? Those women in my neighborhood, I saw a woman get upset at her ex, came over there with her cousin, with her male cousin, and was telling the dude to square up. Like, she came to his house, told him to come outside. Dude came outside, and she was like, square up. So I know women that are volatile. What do you think is going to happen to them? Who is going to tell these women that y'all can't be like this? It's not okay. It's not okay either way. But yeah, guys, this Keke Palmer situation was all over the place, and a lot of people had super generic, cliche things to say about it. So I just wanted to cover it from a bunch of different angles, and most importantly, say that it is never okay. Like, know the signs and walk away early. Know the signs and walk away early unless that person is willing to specifically go to therapy and go to counseling in this regard early, and they do it consistently. I'm mostly going to say just walk away because I don't think that a person that is violent is willing to change. But anyway, that's my time. I need to actually go get these groceries. And thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, I know it was a long video, but thank you guys for watching and listening. And I hope you guys are having a good day and a good life. All right, peace.